1. We're checking out this 1968 Chevy C20 I found on Craigslist for $3,500. Let me give you the real scoop on this classic workhorse. This is a 3/4-ton pickup with the reliable 250 cubic inch straight-six engine under the hood. The seller's being upfront about the fair condition, which is pretty honest for a 55-year-old truck. The odometer shows 44,000 miles, though with vehicles this age, we should take that with a grain of salt. Now, here's what's interesting. The owner has actually put some work into the crucial mechanical bits. We're looking at a new master cylinder, fresh brake lines, new radiator, and a new battery, which are all important safety and reliability upgrades. The rear tires are new too, which is always a plus. It's rocking an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, pretty standard for these old C20s. The blue paint might not be showroom fresh, but hey, that's part of the character with these vintage trucks. The clean title is definitely a positive point. Given the seller's situation, needing to move out of state, and the fair condition rating, this could be a decent project truck for someone willing to put in some TLC. At $3,500, you're getting a piece of American truck history that's had some important mechanical refreshing done. Just keep in mind, you're buying a 55-year-old truck that's been honestly described as fair condition, so adjust your expectations accordingly. Remember folks, these old C20s are getting harder to find, especially at this price point. If you're interested, the seller wants calls only, no texts. 2. We're looking at a pretty interesting 1965 Chevy C10 custom cab that's up for grabs at $7,500. Let me break this one down for you. This is a long wheelbase model, and what's really catching my attention is that rebuilt 350 V8 under the hood. The seller mentions it runs great, and with that professionally rebuilt carburetor, you're looking at a solid powertrain setup. It's paired with a Powerglide transmission, which is a classic automatic that these trucks came with. Now, let's be real about the condition. The seller's being pretty straightforward here. There's rust in what they call the normal spots. You C10 folks know exactly what I'm talking about, but they mention the floorboards are in pretty good shape, which is actually a big deal for these old trucks. The white paint is described as nice, and it's sitting on mag wheels, which gives it that classic custom look. What I'm really appreciating here is the honesty in the listing. This isn't a fully restored show truck, but rather a solid runner that's ready for someone to take it to the next level. With a clean title in hand and a rebuilt engine, $7,500 isn't out of line in today's market for a running, driving C10 from '65. For those of you who've been hunting for a classic C10 project that you can actually drive while you work on it, this could be your ticket. It's got good bones with that rebuilt 350, stops and drives, and seems like a straight shooter of a deal. Remember, these first-gen C10s are only getting more popular, and finding one that's mechanically sorted is half the battle. 3. We're checking out this sweet 1963 Chevrolet C10 that just popped up on Craigslist for $9,500, and let me tell you, this one's got some interesting mods. First off, we're looking at a professionally lowered C10, which is a clean look when done right. The sellers fitted it with US mag wheels wrapped in fresh Nitto tires. That's a quality combo right there. Under the hood, we've got the original inline-six engine, which might not be as popular as the V8s, but these straight sixes are known for their reliability and smooth operation. What's really cool is it's got a 3-speed manual on the floor, making this truck a bit more engaging to drive than your typical automatic. The sellers put some work into making this truck roadworthy with new brakes and a fresh battery. With 100,000 miles on the clock, that's actually pretty reasonable for a 60-year-old truck. The white paint gives it a clean, classic look, and the clean title is always a plus. What's catching my attention here is that the seller claims, "No issues, everything works." That's a bold statement for a truck of this age, but if true, it's definitely reflected in the asking price. They've also mentioned lots of new parts, which suggests this truck has been maintained rather than just preserved. For $9,500, you're getting a lowered classic C10 that's been modified with taste and appears to be mechanically sorted. These early '60s C10s are becoming increasingly desirable, especially ones that are ready to drive and enjoy. If you're in the market for a classic truck that stands out from the crowd with its stance and manual transmission, this could be your ticket. 4. We're diving into a seriously cool find on Craigslist. A 1971 Chevy K10 4ERC4 listed at $11,000, and let me tell you, this one's got some attitude. First off, we're looking at a classic K10 with the desirable small block V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission. That's the combo you want in these trucks. The seller's done some serious upgrading here, starting with a fresh lift kit and brand new Mickey Thompson wheels and tires so new that the stickers are still on them. That's not cheap rubber, folks. Under the hood, they've put in some real work with a new battery, fuel pump, and a freshly rebuilt Edelbrock carburetor. These are all quality upgrades that show someone's been taking care of the mechanicals. Now let's be honest about the condition. The seller's being upfront about some rust in the cab corners, which is pretty common for these old K10s. But here's the good news. The rockers and floorboards are solid, which is actually more important structurally. The red paint gives it that classic look, and with a clean title, you're not dealing with any paperwork headaches. At $11,000, we're not in bargain territory, but the seller's right. Clean K10s from this era are getting harder to find, especially ones with solid bones and meaningful upgrades. The combination of 4x4, V8, manual transmission, and fresh mechanical work makes this a pretty attractive package for someone looking for a classic truck they can actually use. The seller's being straight up about no payment plans and no lowball offers, which tells me they know what they've got. And with those new Mickey Thompsons alone probably eating up a decent chunk of change, the asking price starts to make sense. 5. We're looking at something really special on Craigslist. A 1985 Chevy Blazer that's been transformed into an absolute beast, listed at $11,500. Let me tell you, this isn't your average K5 Blazer. The owner has gone all out with an LS swap, dropping in a 6.0L Vortec motor, and they didn't cut corners. It's running a Holley Sniper fuel injection setup, which is some serious hardware. The 700R4 transmission has been rebuilt to handle that power, and it's still rocking the stock axles with 4-wheel drive capability. The exterior is pretty unique. The whole thing's been rhino-lined, which means this thing is basically bulletproof against scratches and dings. It's got all the right accessories too. Winch for when things get serious, LED light bars for those night adventures, and custom wheels and tires for that perfect stance. Inside, you're sitting pretty on leather seats, which is a nice upgrade from the original interior. With 111 miles on the clock, this Blazer's just getting broken in, especially with that modern LS power plant. Now, let's talk value. $11,500 might seem steep for an '85 Blazer at first glance, but when you break down what's been done here, it starts making sense. That LS swap alone, done right with the Holley Sniper EFI, is worth a significant chunk of change. Add in the rebuilt transmission, the Rhino liner job, winch, lights, wheels, tires. There's easily north of $15,000 in modifications here. The seller's being straight up about not wanting lowball trades and no payment plans, which is fair given the investment in this build. And the best part? They say all the hard work is done. Anyone who's done a major build knows that's worth its weight in gold. This is the kind of Blazer that can do it all. Turn heads at cars and coffee, tackle off-road trails, and still be reliable enough for daily use thanks to that modern LS power plant. If you're in the market for a seriously upgraded K5 Blazer where someone else has already done all the expensive modifications, this could be your ticket. 6. We're checking out something really special on Craigslist, a 1972 Chevrolet C10 Cheyenne that's listed for $17,500. And let me tell you, this one's got some serious collector appeal. First off, let's talk about what we're looking at here. This is a Cheyenne trim level C10, which was the premium package back in '72. What's really catching my attention is that incredibly low mileage, just 16,138 miles showing on the odometer. If that's original, we're looking at a seriously preserved piece of Chevy truck history. Under the hood, we've got the classic 5.7L V8. That's a 350 cubic inch for you old school folks, paired with an automatic transmission. This was one of the most reliable combinations you could get in these trucks. and it's what most collectors look for today. The color combination is particularly interesting, green on green. These period-correct color schemes are becoming increasingly desirable as more people appreciate the originality of these classic trucks. The Cheyenne trim would have included additional chrome trim, a more upscale interior, and other premium features that set it apart from the base models. Now, at $7,500, we're definitely in the serious collector territory here. But considering the Cheyenne trim, that incredibly low mileage, and what appears to be a well-preserved example, the price starts to make sense in today's market. These early 70s C10s, especially Cheyennes, have been steadily climbing in value over the past few years. For someone looking for a premium example of a 72 C10, this could be a solid investment. The Cheyenne trim level, that original color combo, and what appears to be exceptional preservation make this truck stand out from the crowd. 7. We're checking out a sweet 1966 El Camino that's up for grabs at $16,000, and this one's got some serious upgrades. Let's dive into what makes this car-truck hybrid special. Under the hood, we're looking at a 400 small block, which is a nice upgrade from the original engine. It's paired with a 700 R4 automatic transmission. That's a great upgrade that gives you better highway cruising capability with that overdrive gear. Out back, there's a 3.73 Posey rear end, which gives you good acceleration while still being streetable. The seller's done some significant work here. We're talking new wiring. That's a big deal in these classics. Fresh gas tank, new exhaust system, and interior upgrades including new carpet and stereo. The power steering and power disc brakes are modern conveniences that make this El Camino much more enjoyable to drive daily. Now, about that odometer showing 28,854. The seller's honest about it having rolled over, so we're likely looking at 128,154 miles or more. But with all the upgrades and refreshed components, the mileage is less of a concern here. The red paint gives it that classic muscle car look, and with a clean title, you're not dealing with any paperwork headaches. The seller seems pretty enthusiastic about the car's condition, repeatedly mentioning how nice it is and how well it drives. At $16,000, you're getting a well-sorted El Camino with some choice upgrades that make it both more powerful and more drivable than stock. These 66 El Caminos are becoming increasingly desirable, especially ones that have had thoughtful modifications like this one. Interesting side note, the seller's also got some Flowmaster mufflers and welding equipment for sale, so if you're a DIY mechanic, you might be able to work out a package deal. 8. We're looking at something pretty special on Craigslist, a 1974 Dodge D100 Adventurer listed at $8,500, and get this, it's a one-owner truck. Let's talk about what makes this D100 interesting. Under the hood, you've got the bulletproof 318 V8 paired with an automatic transmission. These 318s are known for their reliability, and with 76,854 miles showing, this one's still got plenty of life left. What's really cool is that this is the original engine, something that's getting harder to find in these old Dodges. The Adventurer trim was Dodge's upscale package, and this yellow beauty appears to have been well cared for. The seller, who's the original owner, says it was never used for commercial work or heavy towing. That's huge for a truck of this age. It's basically been a personal vehicle its whole life, which explains its preservation. Here's what's really impressive. The AC and heater are still working. That's rare for a 74. And all the electrical systems like headlights and turn signals are functioning. For a nearly 50-year-old truck, that's pretty remarkable. Now, the seller's being honest. They mention it needs some needed attention and could use either some newer parts or a moderate restoration to really shine. That's fair for a truck of this vintage, and it's refreshing to see such straightforward disclosure. At $8,500, you're getting a piece of Mopar truck history with known history. Can't beat that one-owner provenance. These D100s are getting harder to find, especially in this kind of honest, unmolested condition. Sure, it might need some TLC, but you're starting with solid bones and a complete running truck. That's today's Craigslist find, folks. If you're looking for a classic Dodge truck project that you can actually drive while you restore it, this one-owner D100 might be your ticket. 9. We're checking out an interesting 1980 Ford F100 Custom that's popped up on Craigslist for $8,300. And let me tell you about this classic workhorse. Under the hood, we've got the legendary 4.9L inline-six engine. And folks, this is one of Ford's most reliable engines ever made. These straight sixes are known for running forever, and with 175,000 miles, this one's still got plenty of life left. The seller's done some recent maintenance that catches my attention: new carburetor, fresh spark plugs, and a full tune-up. Plus, they mention no oil leaks, which is pretty impressive for a truck this age. They've put some work into making this truck look good too. There's a fresh Raptor bed liner. That's quality stuff, not cheap spray can material. And they've redone the interior with custom work. The white paint gives it that classic clean look. Being a Nevada truck is a big plus. That means we're likely looking at a body that hasn't dealt with harsh winters and road salt. The Clean Nevada title backs that up. At $8,300, we're in the ballpark for a well-maintained F100 from this era, especially considering the recent mechanical work and interior upgrades. These trucks are gaining popularity as classics, particularly ones with the bulletproof inline-six engine. What I really appreciate here is that the seller's being straightforward. They've listed the recent work done and aren't trying to hide the mileage. For someone looking for a classic Ford truck that's ready to drive and enjoy, this could be a solid choice. That's today's Craigslist find, folks. If you're in the market for a reliable classic Ford with some nice upgrades already done, this F100 might be worth checking out. 10. We're looking at a 1977 Ford F-150 that's listed for $18,000 on Craigslist, and let's have an honest conversation about this one. Under the hood, we've got the robust 351 V8. That's the 351 Cleveland for you Ford fans. Paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, that's a desirable powertrain combo in these old Fords. The seller mentions they've recently installed a new camshaft, which is a significant mechanical upgrade, though it would have been nice to know what other work was done during that service. This is a long bed model, which gives you plenty of hauling capacity if you're planning to actually use this truck. The red paint gives it that classic look that these 70s F-150s wear so well. Now let's address the elephant in the room. $18,000 is pretty steep for a 77 F-150, even in today's market. The broken odometer means we have no idea of the actual mileage, which is something to consider. The description is pretty sparse, which leaves a lot of questions about the truck's overall condition and history. While it's got the clean title and desirable powertrain combo going for it, I'd really want to see more details about the truck's condition, any rust issues, and what other maintenance has been done to justify that asking price. These 70s F-150s are definitely climbing in value, but typically you'd want to see a more comprehensive restoration or documentation at this price point. That's today's Craigslist find, folks. If you're interested in this F-150, I'd definitely recommend a thorough in-person inspection and maybe some negotiation on that price. 11. We're looking at something seriously special on Craigslist, a 1971 El Camino that's been built to absolutely rip, listed at $25,900. And let me tell you why this one's worth talking about. First off, let's talk about that powertrain because it's absolutely bonkers. We're looking at a fresh big block 454 paired with a modern Tremec TKO 600 5-speed manual and a dual friction clutch. This combo has only 22 miles on it, basically still in break-in period. The rear end is equally impressive with a new Moser 12-bolt Posei running 3.73 gears, which is perfect for both street and strip use. The suspension and braking have gotten major upgrades too. We're talking all new suspension components and a complete Wilwood brake system with discs at all 4 corners. That's some serious stopping power to match that big block grunt. The Marina Blue paint looks sharp, and while the cowl induction hood isn't painted yet, that's actually a working piece, not just for show. Inside, you've got Corbeau seats, an SS dash, new carpet, and working AC and heat. That's a rare combo in a modified classic. Now, at $25,900, we're talking serious money. But let's break down what you're getting. A fresh 454 big block, modern Tremec transmission, Moser rear end, Wilwood brakes, and a complete suspension overhaul. Just those components alone could easily eat up most of that asking price. Plus, the seller's including all the original parts in the bed. That's huge for authenticity or future restoration. This isn't just a pretty face. This is a properly built El Camino that combines classic muscle car style with modern performance upgrades. For someone looking for a turnkey classic that can handle serious power while being comfortable enough to drive regularly, this could be a solid deal. That's today's Craigslist find, folks. If you're in the market for a seriously upgraded El Camino that's ready to cruise or terrorize your local car show, this might be your ticket. 12. We're checking out a pretty interesting 1970 Chevy C20 that's popped up on Craigslist for $19,000, and there's quite a bit to unpack here. Let's start with the heart of this beast. It's running a rebuilt 350 cubic inch V8, though that 2555 HP in the listing is definitely a typo, likely meant 255 HP. It's got a 4-barrel carb and dual pipes, so you know it's got that classic V8 rumble we all love. The 4-speed manual transmission is a desirable feature in these trucks, giving you full control over that V8 power. This is a C20, which means it's a 3 to 4 ton model, built tougher than your standard C10, with 34,767 miles showing, though on a 53-year-old truck, we should take that with a grain of salt. What's really catching my attention is that $7,000 in recent maintenance updates. That's significant investment in keeping this truck roadworthy. The seller's being honest about the truck having some vintage wear and dings. That's exactly what you'd expect from a working truck of this era. It comes with the original instruction manual, which is a nice bonus for collectors, and it's equipped with a tow package, so it's still ready to work if you need it to. At $19,000, we're in the higher range for a C20 from this era, but considering the rebuilt engine, recent maintenance, and what appears to be a complete running truck with a desirable manual transmission, it could be worth it for the right buyer. These early 70s Chevys are only going up in value. One quick note, the listing mentions FWD, but this is definitely a rear-wheel drive truck, RWD, as all C20s were. Just a simple listing error there. That's today's Craigslist find, folks. If you're looking for a classic 3-4 ton Chevy that's been mechanically sorted and is ready to roll, this might be worth checking out. 13. We're looking at something pretty special on Craigslist. A 1971 Ford F-250 camper special that's listed for $30,000, and this one's got some serious work done to it. Let's dive into what makes this truck interesting. First off, it's got a rebuilt 391 V8. That's a rare FE big block engine that Ford put in these heavy-duty trucks. The seller's done some serious upgrading here with an aluminum manifold and a MagnaFlow exhaust system, which should make this big block breathe a lot better. The mechanical work list is impressive. Rebuilt transmission, new driveline, and it's balanced. That's attention to detail. Fresh gas tank with new pump, filter, and lines. They've also tackled the braking system with new rotors, and perhaps most importantly, they've installed a completely new wiring harness. Anyone who's dealt with old trucks knows that electrical issues can be a nightmare, so this is a big plus. Being a camper special means this was Ford's heavy-duty package designed specifically for carrying slide-in campers, with upgraded suspension and often additional cooling capacity. With 62,708 miles showing, this truck's got relatively low mileage for its age. Now let's talk about that $30,000 asking price. It's definitely on the high end for a 71 F-250. However, when you consider the extensive mechanical rebuilding and upgrades, plus the fact that it's a camper special with the rare 391 engine, the price starts to make more sense. The seller's honest about it still needing a little more love, which is refreshing at this price point. This isn't a truck for everyone. It's for someone who appreciates the rarity of the camper special package and that big 391 engine, and values the extensive mechanical work that's already been done. The seller's firm on the price and isn't interested in lowball offers, which suggests they know what they've invested in this build. 14. We're looking at something really special on Craigslist, a 1969 Chevy C10 that's being offered at $26,500, and this isn't just any C10. This was Chuck Speed Center's shop truck. Now, if you know anything about shop trucks, you know they're often built right because they're rolling advertisements for the business. This one's got some serious credentials, with an LS swap performed by Chuck himself. We're looking at a 4.8L LS engine with fuel injection, showing 70,000 miles, paired with a 4L80E 4-speed automatic transmission that's got 30,000 miles on it. That's a bulletproof combination right there. The upgrades list is impressive. They've done a Master Power front disc brake conversion, converted to 5-lug using all GM parts, that's important, no cheap aftermarket stuff here, and they've got 3.73 gears out back, which is a perfect ratio for both street use and decent acceleration. All the bushings were redone about 20,000 miles ago, so the suspension should be nice and tight. What really catches my attention is that this truck has modern amenities, AC and cruise control. That makes it a legitimate daily driver if you want it to be. The bed is described as very nice, and it's got a big storage box, adding some practical utility. At $26,500, we're talking serious money. But let's break down what you're getting. A professionally built LS swap with modern transmission, upgraded brakes, proper suspension work, and modern conveniences. Plus, you're getting the reputation of Chuck's Speed Center behind the build. That's worth something in the classic truck community. This isn't just a pretty face. This is a properly engineered build that combines classic style with modern reliability and comfort. For someone looking for a turnkey classic C10 with modern power and reliability, this could actually be a solid value. 15. We're checking out a seriously interesting 1985 K5 Blazer on Craigslist for $15,000, and this one's got some major muscle under the hood. Let's talk about the elephant in the room first. This K5's been upgraded with a monster 454 big block. That's a massive upgrade from the original 305, which the seller hilariously calls a turd. Even better, it's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and a 208 transfer case. That's a fun combination that lets you really control all that big block power. The build specs are pretty impressive. It's got heavy-duty 8-lug axles, a 4-inch lift sitting on new leaf springs and shocks, and it's rolling on 285/75R16 Milestar Patagonia MT tires that are practically new 2021 dot code. The AC has been converted to R134A, which is a smart upgrade that makes it more serviceable today. Inside, we're looking at freshly reupholstered seats and what the seller claims is a perfect interior. That's rare for these older Blazers. Now, being honest about the body, the seller mentions some rust. It is a Utah truck after all, but they've checked the common rust areas with a magnet, suggesting it's still solid where it counts. At $15,000, you're getting a lot of truck here. The 454 swap alone is a major value add, and when you factor in the manual transmission, fresh suspension, new tires, and interior work, the price starts to make sense. These K5 Blazers are getting harder to find, especially ones with thoughtful modifications like this. This isn't your typical mall crawler. This is a seriously built K5 with enough power to probably terrify your passengers. The combination of that big block, manual transmission, and lifted suspension means this thing's ready for whatever you throw at it. That's today's Craigslist find, folks. If you're looking for a K5 Blazer with some serious attitude and power to back it up, this might be your ticket. 16. We're looking at a 1977 GMC High Sierra on Craigslist for $7,000, and let's have an honest conversation about this one. First off, I appreciate the seller's candor here. They're upfront about this being a project truck, and that's exactly what we're looking at. The odometer situation is a bit confusing. It's showing 258,068 miles, but the seller mentions it had 180,000 when they got it, and the odometer's been acting up, adding phantom miles. Either way, we're looking at a well-used classic truck here. The seller's pretty straightforward about what it needs. A new battery, that's an easy fix. New shock, probably means shocks all around would be smart, and some AC repairs. These are all pretty typical issues for a truck of this vintage, and at least they're being honest about what needs attention. What's interesting is that the seller paid $8,000 for it and is asking $7,000. They're taking a loss here, which suggests they really do need to move it along. They mention it runs perfectly aside from these issues, which is promising. But remember, this is listed in fair condition. At $7,000, you're in the ballpark for a running driving High Sierra from this era, but you'll need to factor in some immediate expenses to get everything sorted out. These 70s GMCs are getting more popular as classics, but this one's definitely going to need some TLC to reach its full potential. That's today's Craigslist find, folks. If you're looking for a project truck with good bones and you're not afraid of a little wrench time, this High Sierra might be worth checking out. Just make sure to budget for those needed repairs. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more classic truck discoveries. 17. We're checking out a pretty clean 1985 K5 Blazer on Craigslist for $13,500, and this Arizona truck has some features worth talking about. First off, let's appreciate that this is an Arizona truck. That means we're likely looking at a rust-free body, which is huge for these K5s that often suffer from rust issues in other regions. Under the hood, we've got a fuel-injected 350 V8, which is a nice upgrade from the carbureted setup these originally came with. Even better, it's got a fresh 700R4 automatic transmission with less than 500 miles on it. That overdrive is great for highway cruising. The seller's done some meaningful upgrades here. It's sitting on 15x10 Steelies, wrapped in 33 Crace 12.5 R15 Falcon all-terrains. That's a solid tire choice for both street and light off-road use. They've added a Flowmaster exhaust, which probably gives this 350 a nice rumble, and they've just installed a new windshield and fuel tank. What's really impressive is that all the power windows work, including that rear window. If you know these K5s, you know that's often a trouble spot. The 22,566 miles showing might be after a rollover, but the overall condition suggests this truck's been well maintained. At $13,500, and they're open to offers, you're getting a clean, rust-free K5 with some desirable upgrades like the fuel injection and fresh transmission. The fact that it's a Silverado trim level adds value too. These were the more luxurious versions with better interior appointments. This isn't a beat-up trail rig or a neglected project. This appears to be a well-maintained K5 that's ready to drive and enjoy. For someone looking for a clean, sorted K5 Blazer that doesn't need immediate work, this could be a solid buy. That's today's Craigslist find, folks. If you're in the market for a clean, rust-free K5 with some smart upgrades, this Arizona truck might be worth checking out. 18. We're looking at something really special on Craigslist. A 1976 Ford F-250 4X4 listed at $25,000, and this one's got some serious muscle under the hood. Let's dive into what makes this truck exceptional. First off, it's running a rebuilt FE 428 big block with less than 2,000 miles on it. That's a serious power upgrade from the original engine. It's been built right too, with a DUI distributor, rebuilt Holley 600 carb, and a new dual exhaust system. The 4-speed manual transmission paired with a divorced transfer case, that's the good stuff, folks, gives you total control over that big block power. The seller's done some serious updating here. New brakes all around, fresh U-joints, worn manual hubs, that's quality hardware, and it's sitting on new 35-inch BFG all-terrains. They've even added a 32-gallon aluminum fuel tank. And trust me, with that Ford 28, you'll appreciate the extra fuel capacity. The body condition is honestly described. No rust and structurally sound, though there's some paint failure on the roof and driver's door from a previous repaint. Being a 3-owner truck that's spent significant time garaged is a huge plus for these old Fords. What's really impressive is the level of mechanical attention this truck's received. All fluids have been changed in the transmission, transfer case, and differentials. That's the kind of maintenance you want to see. At $25,000, we're talking serious money, but let's break down what you're getting. A rust-free F-250 4ERG4 with a freshly rebuilt 428 FE engine, quality upgrades throughout, and documented maintenance. These 70s Ford trucks are climbing in value, especially well-maintained examples with desirable powertrains. The seller's right about one thing. It could be a daily driver if you can afford the fuel. That Ford 28 isn't known for its fuel economy, but it sure is known for its power. 19. Let me tell you about this absolutely gorgeous 1977 Ford F-250 I just came across on Craigslist. This is one of those rare finds that really gets my heart pumping. We're looking at a former state-owned service truck with just 44,000 miles on the clock. That's incredibly low for a 77. The orange paint really makes this classic pickup stand out, and being a second-owner vehicle with a clean title is always a huge plus. What we've got here is a proper workhorse, an F-250 with the legendary 460 V8, or possibly the 400, paired with an automatic transmission that's apparently still shifting smooth as butter. The seller mentions 475 engine hours, which is pretty reasonable for its age, and honestly, these old Ford trucks were built like tanks. At $12,800, considering today's crazy classic truck market, this actually seems pretty fair for what appears to be a well-maintained example. The seller seems genuinely proud of the truck and straightforward about its history, which is always refreshing to see. They mention it runs and drives like a champ, and given its service truck background, it was probably maintained on a regular schedule. Just keep in mind that even with an excellent condition rating, we're still talking about a 45-year-old truck, so you'll want to do your due diligence and check for any typical Ford truck issues from this era, things like frame rust or transmission condition. But overall, this looks like a solid example of a classic F-250 that could be both a practical workhorse and a head-turner at local car shows. 20. We're looking at something really special, a 1965 Chevrolet C10 long bed that's caught my attention. Let me tell you, at $27,500, we're definitely in the premium classic truck territory, but there's a reason for that. This C10 is packing the desirable 327 V8 under the hood, which is a sweet spot for these trucks. Plenty of power without being too thirsty. The green exterior paired with that beige interior is just a classic, timeless combination that really works on these C10s. With 65,800 miles showing on the odometer, it's clear this truck has lived a life. But that's actually pretty low for a 58-year-old vehicle. The automatic transmission is a nice touch for everyday usability. These old Chevy automatics are generally pretty reliable when maintained properly. What makes these 65 C10s special is their perfect blend of classic styling and practical usability. The long bed version might not be as sought after as the short bed, but it's actually more practical if you're planning to use it as intended. The Vine checks out as authentic for a 65 model, which is always reassuring in the classic truck market. Now, being honest here, $27,500 is strong money for a C10, even in today's market. You'll want to really inspect the undercarriage and all the usual rust spots these trucks are known for. Check the cab corners, rocker panels, and bed floor carefully. Also, make sure that 327 is running right. These engines are great when they're good, but can be expensive to rebuild if they're tired. If everything checks out mechanically and structurally, this could be a solid investment. These C10s aren't getting any cheaper, and they're becoming increasingly popular among collectors and enthusiasts alike.